And welcome back to Lycan Studios. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. So if you missed the live stream, which by the way, you should check out the next one because they're pretty fun. Anyways, if you missed the live stream, you should know that I'm going to be super busy this week and this weekend. I'm actually going to a Penn State game with my dad. It's going to be fantastic. But nonetheless, I wanted to kind of start on some videos that would be easy for me to schedule throughout the week and the weekend to upload for you guys. So it looks like we're going to be jumping into a plot leak review. Yes, a plot leak. And by plot leak, I mean fan fiction. Because, of course, HBO is not going to they're not going to let the plot out. There's no way. There's no way. So, yes, just know that I will say this probably in the beginning of every single episode. These are not real. Fan fiction. Nothing is real. But we actually already covered episodes 1 and 2. We are going to be re-uploading them today and tomorrow. But yeah, these were covered by Talking Thrones. They were sent to me at the same time, but of course he has way more viewers and stuff like that. So I figured I would let him cover them and not try to cover them as well, and then come back to him later on, which is now. So yeah, without further ado, here is episode 1. Hopefully you enjoy it. We're going to be doing a breakdown after we get through all of them, and I'm going to try to be mixing in regular content because I know a lot of you guys don't like it, but a lot of people do love these plot leak review things or whatever. So anyways, here's episode 1. So anyways, this leak says that it starts out with Beric and Tormund warning Ed of the breakthrough at the Eastwatch by the Sea from the Night King's dragon. Ed begins to prepare ravens to warn everyone, but then he hears the sound of a horn. The horn sounds 3 times and the army of the dead are seen approaching from the South Sea. Beric tells Tormund to head south while Beric stays with Lord Commander Ed. Beric says he still has a purpose to serve, so he pulls out a sword and it ignites. The ravens take flight and are heading south until the dragon appears and unleashes his blue flame on them. Beric shouts that not all the dead are coming to Castle Black. A large army is seen following the Night King and Viserion that are heading further south. The Whites reach Castle Black and the battle begins. Then back at Winterfell, Bran is in the Godswood at the Weirwood Tree. He asks the Maester how long he has been in his vision. The Maester says a few hours. Bran notes that he has not seen anything this time. He says that he may have been thrown out of a vision and something must be wrong. Jon, Daenerys, Jorah, Tyrion, Varys, Brienne, the Hound, and some soldiers ride to the gate at Winterfell. Several guards of the North greet them at the gate. They look at Daenerys suspiciously. Jorah notices this and he looks worried. Sansa and Arya arrive at the gate and Sansa looks at Daenerys suspiciously as well. Tyrion notices that they are reinforcing the walls. Sansa greets Jon and then she asks how he managed to bring Daenerys and Cersei to peace. Jon hugs her and says it's not that easy. Jon then hugs Arya and she says, so you did stick him with a pointy end. Arya smiles. She is very pleased to see Jon once again. There's got to be more to that meeting than just that. But anyways, Jon and Bran look at each other and Jon looks very worried. Sam, Gilly, and the baby are looking from across the yard. Ghost is next to Sam at this time. Sansa tells Jon that Bran's situation is hard to explain. Sansa says Bran has visions. Brienne asks Sansa where Littlefinger is. Jon wants to know that as well, so he repeats the question. Arya answers Jon quite relaxed, saying that she executed him. Jon looks a little concerned, but then Sam greets him. Jon bends down to greet Ghost and he brushes his fur off for a few moments. Jon and Sam begin to talk about their time apart, and Sam asks Jon about the dragonglass on Dragonstone. Jon also says that so far, Longclaw has never failed him against the White Walkers. Tyrion addresses Sansa and asks her how she escaped King's Landing after Joffrey's death. Sansa says Littlefinger was behind it. Jon asks Sansa why Winterfell is being prepared for a siege. Sansa says a friend once told me you should prepare for any scenario. Then we will not experience any surprises. She smiles and Jon seems impressed. Jon tells everyone to gather in the main hall. In the hall, Jon tells everyone that the king in the north is now serving Queen Daenerys Targaryen. Angry shouts erupt in the hall, and Sansa looks shocked. Lord Royce angrily asks Jon why he hasn't learned from the mistakes of Brandon Stark and his father. Targaryens cannot be trusted. Jon explains that he is obviously still alive. Jon also says that Dany has not only provided dragonglass, but she has also provided her armies and her dragons. He says he has already helped them fight the dead, despite the dangerous threat. She has also sacrificed one of her dragons, which she considers a child of hers. Lord Glover says that he did not see any of this for himself. Daenerys explains that she did not come to conquer them. Lyanna Mormont asks Dany about the peace treaty with Cersei. Dany says that the war is at a momentary standstill. The war will continue after the Night King is defeated. Turmoil rises again. Arya says aloud, we cannot trust Cersei Lannister. She lied to stay alive. I do not believe she will stay at peace. Jorah begins to get nervous and he grabs the hilt of his sword. In the side corridor, Sam asks Bran when he plans on telling Jon the truth. Bran says right now is not the right time. The tensions are already too high with Daenerys here. Jon says he will not force anyone to stay in the north and fight. He also says he will go to war for Dany as she has already done for him and them. Lord Royce asks Tyrion if his sister Cersei can be trusted. Tyrion says they can because Cersei is aware of the threat of the army of the dead. Jon says there is no time to think about it. Everyone needs to send all of their men north. Lyanna Mormont and Lord Manderly agree. Dany says the dead do not argue, they follow their king and they are coming. She has seen it herself. Bran says that Dany is right, the dead do not speak. They follow one king, the Night King. I know many of you do not believe what I can see, but I have seen him. I met him. First in a vision, then he found me beyond the wall. He is coming, he's always coming, and he's getting closer. We have to stop him now. Dany tells the other lords they need to fight together and to trust each other. Back at King's Landing, Qyburn enters Cersei's chambers. He tells her that the next phase is near completion, and your grace should see for herself. They then walk through the Great Hall and they enter a black room with a trap door. They go down a ladder and enter a cellar that's pitch black except there is a faint glow in the back of the room. When they enter, Cersei sees there is hundreds of pots of wildfire stored right under the throne room, and Qyburn says there's more, still stashed around the city. And then it goes to Essos where Euron arrives. Euron meets with the commander of the Golden Company and begins to mock them because of their pretty golden uniforms and their decorated elephants. The men of the Golden Company begin to board Euron's ships along with the war horses and elephants. The commander then asks Euron if it's true, does this Targaryen queen really have dragons? Euron says yes, that Dany does have the dragons, but we have something to defeat them. He then uncovers a large weapon at the back of the ship. It must be the Scorpion. The commander does not seem impressed. Euron then asks him if the Golden Company has knights exiled from Westeros. The commander says yes, and Euron says, good, that makes us brothers. I was exiled too. We then switch over to Jaime. It says Jaime meets with Bronn a few miles outside of the city. He tells Bronn he is leaving King's Landing and leaving Cersei for good. He says he plans on keeping his word to Jon and Dany, and if Bronn intends on surviving the winter and ever getting paid, he should come with him. Bronn is not pleased, but begrudgingly agrees to help. Back at Winterfell, Jon is in the crypts of Winterfell with Daenerys. She asks Jon how many family members he has lost in the recent wars. Jon talks about Ned, Catelyn, Robb, and Rickon. He says that Rickon died right in front of him during the battle for Winterfell. Jon says that Robb was betrayed. Unfortunately, his own mistakes led to his death. Jon says a broken promise cost him his life. Robb was set to wed, but he chose another woman instead, and it got him killed. Jon looks at Ned's statue and Dany does the same, but then Dany looks at Lyanna's and asks Jon who she is. Jon says that's my aunt Lyanna. She was abducted by Rhaegar Targaryen. It ultimately triggered Robert's rebellion. Dany seems confused by this. She says, I've heard many things about my brother, but it was always good things. An abduction of a defenseless woman does not sound like him. Jon looks at Lyanna and then at Daenerys. He says it doesn't matter now. They're all dead and there is nothing we can do to change that. Tyrion is in a room writing someone a letter. Who he is writing is not revealed. Tormund arrives at Winterfell's gate, his horse is ready to collapse. As Jon and Dany are exiting the crypts, they both notice that the guards are in a frenzy. They see them talking to Tormund and he seems to be distressed. Tormund tells Jon what happened to Eastwatch and Castle Black. He says the Night King has the dragon and he's coming their way. Jon is utterly shocked and Dany is on the verge of tears. For the last scene, we have the last Hearth. There was a small boy seen outside playing in the snow with his father. Suddenly, the boy stops and his father asks, what's wrong? The boy points to the nearby tree line. There are hundreds or more of blue eyes peering through the trees. The man tells his son to get inside now. The whites begin running into the village, horns begin to blow, and little Ned Umber comes outside with several soldiers at his side. As more soldiers come outside, the sound of a dragon quickly drowns out the horns that were blowing. They tell Ned Umber to get back inside, but it's too late. There are too many. Thousands of whites, led by multiple White Walkers and giants, are now just 100 feet away. The Night King comes out of the storm and Viserion begins to unleash his blue flame on their castle. Chaos erupts, and everyone begins to get butchered. Viserion's blue flame delivers a devastating blow to the Umber's ancestral home. Ned Umber's personal guard is slaughtered, leaving him all alone. One of the White Walkers approaches him, and with one swift move, he pierces his heart with his ice sword. Ned Umber falls as his home and people are destroyed. The final shot of the episode shows nearly a dozen White Walkers walking across the blood-soaked battlefield. Every man, woman, and child lay slain at their feet. The Night King lands Viserion and he steps off of him for a moment. The camera will then pan around across the ground, showing all the bodies begin to twitch and move, until it shows Ned Umber. His eyes open with a piercing blue color and the episode ends. So there you have it. There's episode 1. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know you guys have heard it before, but bear with me. We're going to be doing an analysis and breakdown of these here in just a few days. Anyways, we'll see you later. Peace.